everybody. We are going to get started, so please find your seat. Get any of the food that is left, and start bringing conversations to a close. Please find your seat. You think I'm laughing? All right, please find your seat. Please find your seat. We are going to get started. And if we can bring conversations to a close, we are going to start with a welcome from St. Stephen Missionary Baptist Church. So please bring the conversation to a close.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deacon Marsha Smith, and I just bring you greetings on behalf of our pastor, James E. Cook. We ask that you make yourself comfortable here. If you need anything, let us know. Bathrooms in the back to the left, and if you need any assistance, we're happy to help you while you're here. Enjoy your stay. Thank you.
Thank you very much to St. Stephen for welcoming us tonight. Now I'm going to have some of the organizers who put together this event are going to welcome you into the space, say hi to you, introduce themselves as we get this program started. So Linda Sutton, Angela Levine, please come on up.
Good evening and welcome. So, we are here and you are here. And I hope you have a word for our lawmakers. So I wasn't given a sermon time or a long speech time. So I really just want to welcome you and speak your mind because our legislators need to hear from you. And I just have one thing to say. If you can tell me the common denominator, one word, in all these issues, because people always ask me, why should I vote? I don't want to vote anymore. Just give me one word. What does the Civil Rights Act and the Civil Rights, the Voting Rights Act, what does redlining and gerrymandering, voter suppression, slavery, Jim Crow laws, what do they all have in common? Our government. That's why you should be voting. It's our government. The people that you voted for and elected, and if you didn't vote, you elected them anyway, right? So we need to understand the connection between our vote and what's happening in our lives to all the issues that we care about. I don't care what it is, you can tie it back to a law or policy that was put in place by somebody that was elected. So that's my tale for you. I want you to go out and tell that story for everyone else that you meet as a reason why they need to be voting and getting involved in the things that happen in their lives. Because everything through our entire lives are depending on the people that you put in place to make those laws and policies. Because evil flourishes when good people do nothing. And I believe you're the good people here tonight. Thank you for coming.
She's a hard act to follow, I'll just tell y'all. Good evening. My name is Angela Levine. It is so wonderful to see such a crowd of friendly faces. A lot of people that I know here. I'm an organizer with Red, Wine, and Blue. I do live here, although this is my fourth one of these events to go to because I cover a lot of different areas in the state. But many people aren't familiar with our organization, and everybody wants to know, what's the wine about? And is it really wine? Yeah, we are talking about wine. But actually, what we are talking about is the way in which women specifically come together, often in social settings, and end up talking about very serious and important things. And our organization was born out of that and a desire for women to advocate around the issues they care about. And so Red, Wine, and Blue really exists as an organization that educates, equips, and empowers women to do advocacy around their important issues. And we try to be a non-threatening on-ramp for anyone who's never done anything, who's never sent an email to Representative Baker or Senator Lowe, or who's never been to a school board meeting and seen Sabrina Kuhn up at the dais, or who just doesn't even know where to get started. We try to provide resources, tools, training, everything that's needed, and then we want to connect the people that care about some of the same issues to each other. And when it comes to voting, we do things a little bit differently than other organizations. We have decided that one of the ways that we can make the biggest impact on voter turnout is by leaning into the relationships that we have with people, and it's called relational organizing. And we teach folks how to do this and how to have conversations with people within their network to turn them out to vote. And because we have some handy tools that allow people to track what those people they spoke to do in terms of voting, we were able to see last year that we impacted voter turnout across the state by over 10%. And the 10% increase in turnout just from people talking to the people they know, that is huge. That is huge. And I've got some information back at my table about how we do it, and I'd be happy to share that with you. So stop by there when you're finished, but I'll just say this finally, after going to now, I guess 4 of these have been fantastic opportunities for the public. I have heard many wonderful questions be asked from people, caring citizens across the state, and it's just a great way to be in front of these legislators and let them respond to the things you're saying. So I hope that everybody really embraces the opportunity to ask questions. Thank you.
All right, good evening, Winston-Salem. Oh, we can do better than that. Good evening, Winston-Salem. Oh, this is a full room. I want to say thank you very quick to St. Stephen Missionary Baptist Church for hosting us tonight, to another organization you'll hear from soon, Action for Equity, for being a huge part of this event, finding us this space, doing good work for educational equity here in Forsyth County, and as well as to Democracy North Carolina, Red, White, and Blue, and everybody who's a part of this. So thank you for being here tonight. My name is Gino Nuzalillo. I work for an organization called Common Cause North Carolina. Our mission is to build the kind of democracy that North Carolina deserves. Maybe not one that we have right now, but the one that it deserves. My colleagues are here. My Common Cause North Carolina colleagues could stand up really quick and say hi. We got Sailor Jones, Tyler Day, Dr. Smith. And friends, we have an action-packed event for you here tonight. So I want to give you a little bit of overview. And Sailor, can I grab that clicker? Thank you very much. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of what we are here to do tonight. We're here, and Angela kind of previewed it for you, because this year in North Carolina, specifically, what has happened in our General Assembly has dramatically impacted our futures for years and years to come. How many of you, raise your hand, have heard about something happening in Raleigh that you've got an opinion about? Every single person. That means all of y'all are going to speak tonight, right? Good. And that's exactly why we're here, because there are too few opportunities like this to hear about what has actually happened and to get a chance to share our opinion about it. When was the last time that y'all were able to go to a town hall to learn just about the state legislature? I'm not hearing anything. Probably not any time recently. So that is what we're here for tonight. We are going to talk to you about some pressing issues happening in the state government and locally. We are then going to hear some presentations from other organizations who are working on these issues, who are going to give you avenues to be involved. And then we are going to spend most of our time listening to you. And I'll get into the rules for that later. But there are people here who are here to listen to you. And I want to recognize them here really quick. If you are one of our state lawmakers, I think I see Senator Lowe, Representative Baker here, would you stand up so we can recognize you? Give a round of applause. And we also have Representative Tamika Brown will be with us here later on tonight. If you are on the county commission, could you stand up, please? Oh, what was that? are on the county commission in Forsyth County, would you stand up so we can give you a round of applause? Thank you very much, Commissioners. And I believe we also have some Winston-Salem City Council people here tonight. Would y'all please stand up for a moment so we can recognize you? Well, you are lucky number one, so thank you. And finally, we have a member of our school board here tonight, School Board Member Kuhn. And last but not least, and then I promise I'll make you stop clapping because I know your hands are starting to hurt. We have members of the Forsyth County Board of Elections here with us tonight who will give a short presentation in a little bit. So, my friends, let's get right into it. We are a nonpartisan organization. I always say that at the front. So we do not side with one party or the other. We side with no one but the people. We are to talk to you about issues tonight, not parties. And like we said at the beginning, there's a lot that has happened in the General Assembly this year. I'm going to try to go through it fairly quickly. And if you need to groan or you want to clap or you need to do whatever you need to do, please feel free to do so. So we are going to talk about bills, budgets, and maps. The first big piece I want to talk with y'all about tonight are a number of bills impacting voting in 23 and 24. How many of y'all have heard about SB 747, SB 749, okay? Or about redistricting? All right, good number of people in the room. So I won't spend a ton of time on this. The big thing you need to know is that laws passed this year are going to change how you vote. Not only when you have to show photo ID at the polls in 2023, but also your mail-in ballot, the kinds of experiences that you will have at the polls. That has been changed by bills like Senate Bill 747. We call it the Elections Omnibus Bill. Some have come up with the creative name, the Jumbo Jet of voter suppression, so I'll share that as well. The biggest thing to know about one of the major changes that's happening next year in 2024 is a change to mail-in voting rules. How many of y'all voted by mail? Raise your hand. Or know someone who has? Okay, good number of you. Now, before in North Carolina, before 2024, if you wanted to vote by mail, but you didn't know who you wanted to vote for until probably pretty close to Election Day, because sometimes, there's not a lot of great choices on the ballot, so it takes some time to figure it out. As long as you sent that ballot in postmarked at the post office by Election Day, that ballot could get there up to 3 days after Election Day and still count. I see some nods, people following along with me. In 2024, that will no longer be the case. They have, the majority party in Raleigh has restricted the time that your mail-in ballot can be accepted, in a move that we as Common Cause believe may lead to the unnecessary rejection of otherwise eligible ballots. Let me give you a little point on this. In 2020, if a policy like this had been in place, it would have discounted about 12,000 ballots. Now, who can tell me what the race for Chief Justice of the State Supreme Court between Sherry Beasley and Paul Newby was decided by? Tell me, Scott. 401 votes, statewide. So we point that out to say, this is a state where some of the most important positions are decided by 401 votes. And for no important reason that we can discern, we are restricting access to the ballot box through laws like this. There's also major changes coming to how your elections are run. Senate Bill 749. 749 changes your local board of elections and your state board of elections in North Carolina. Turns it from 5-member boards with a majority that align with the governor's party to boards that have 4 members locally and 8 members at the state level, both even partisan splits. Now, that might not sound like a problem. The question I want to ask y'all, Sailor, I always ask them, when was the last time y'all saw the 2 parties agree on anything substantive? If you can point it out, I will leave right now. All right, nobody has. What we are concerned about is that on the vast majority of issues, boards of elections will agree. But on some substantial areas of election policy, such as how many early voting sites you have, and how long they're open, and where they are, there might not be so much agreement. And what we're concerned about with this change to the structure of the boards, a change that was rejected by about 2/3 of North Carolinians when it was on the ballot in 2018 as a constitutional amendment, will lead to gridlock, gridlock, gridlock. And when it comes to early voting, the way that this bill interacts with current law is that if there is a gridlock at the local Board of Elections level on the board, and there is gridlock at the state Board of Elections because they can't agree on an early voting plan, the default under North Carolina law is that county gets one early voting cycle. Open only during working hours and with one Saturday option. I want to show you, I was going to show you another photo. I want you to imagine Forsyth County having one early voting site next year. I already see heads shaking. Nobody wants to imagine it. But that's what we're concerned about with a bill like this. That's not all on the democracy front, my friends. You also have new voting maps in 2024. North Carolina General Assembly just passed them yesterday. Now, Winston-Salem is partly represented right now by Congresswoman Kathy Manning. That is likely not to be the case next year. Y'all may not be able to see it very well, but the congressional maps have changed in North Carolina such that Forsyth County is split into two different congressional districts. Both of those congressional districts, and this is just facts, I'm not sharing it from a partisan angle, are likely to elect Republicans. Part of Forsyth County is all the way with our friends in the Smoky Mountains of the Tennessee border. Another portion goes down close to the Charlotte suburbs. Under this proposal, now this doesn't mean that we don't have the time and the energy to expand the electorate to break these gerrymanders, but the projected seat share of these maps looks to be a map that may elect 10 Republicans as opposed to 7 Republicans last year in 2022. And if you all are trying to get a sense of these slides, I promise you will get all these slides afterward. You'll get to see these maps, I promise. Now, in the state legislative front, and I know there's some folks here in the back who are paying close attention to this, your districts haven't changed a whole lot, but have changed in some important ways. So in the North Carolina State Senate, there is still one Senate district, currently represented by Senator Lowe, that covers most of Winston-Salem in these new maps. The rest is paired with Stokes County and takes all the rest of it. And in the State House, you still have largely the same districts, two likely Democratic districts that comprise most of Winston-Salem. And then you've got a district, State House district that combines the west, or that has the western part, the eastern part, and then a portion of Forsyth County that is connected to Stokes County. All right, everyone following me so far? And I promise if you've got questions about this, we will also answer. So the maps have changed. And maybe they haven't changed a whole lot here in Forsyth County, but they have changed all across the state. They have changed in ways that we believe harm particularly black voters in North Carolina and northeastern North Carolina. And with the full admission of the folks who drew the maps in Raleigh, these were drawn to engineer partisan advantage. They made no secret of it. You can go look at the transcripts. Admitted full on that they drew these maps for their party's gain. Now what they'll try to avoid saying, but what is obvious to us who look to the data, is that they also did so by targeting communities of color here in North Carolina. And I'm going to go past this just because in the interest of time, but like I said, we will make sure you have all these slides so you can see this data for yourself. And a big thank you to Tyler Day for making all those slides. I appreciate it. Now, I'm going to go through a couple more areas. It's not just voting rights that have been impacted in North Carolina this year. One of the kind of bright spots of the legislative session this year is that North Carolina expanded Medicaid health insurance access to 600,000. Yeah, that's right. Give a round of applause. 600,000 North Carolinians who went without health care. At the same time, the legislature also passed a bill banning abortion after 12 weeks and banning access to health care procedures for young LGBTQ plus North Carolinians. We will come back to public education in a moment, but I want to talk to you for a minute about the state budget before I turn it over to some of our partners who are here with you tonight. How many of y'all have read the state budget that passes here? Did you raise your hand? I think you got some of it. Well, that is great, because when they drop the state budget, I know our lawmakers can tell us this, it's about 600, 700 some page, it is gargantuan. How many of y'all want to guess how much time that lawmakers had to review this budget and pass it? That's right. I think just about under 3 days. 3 days to pass a 2-year spending bill for North Carolina. What does it do? In addition to expanding Medicaid, it reduces the income tax in North Carolina, the personal income tax, and it also puts us on a pathway to eliminating the corporate income tax. In a move that, under some analyses, will deprive North Carolina of up to $8 billion, maybe even $13 billion in revenue each year. Revenue that we can use to address hunger, revenue that we can use to address housing, revenue that we can use to address public parks and hospitals. But also in the state budget are issues that impact democracy. One of the provisions now allows lawmakers, all 170 of them if they choose to conceal, sell, or destroy their public records. In the past, you could request public records because that is your right to know what your lawmakers are doing behind the scenes. That is no longer the case. And they did so especially right before they drew these new voting maps, giving themselves the illegal authority to conceal communications about new voting maps right before they did it, and right before they gave us maps rigged to their advantage. And this next one, I promise you, I'm not making it up, like I'm not being hyperbolic. This one is real, I promise you. The legislature has also given incredibly broad powers to a little-known office called GovOps, Government Operations. GovOps just sounds way more dystopian. Under this new scheme, GovOps is essentially like a secret investigative force that answers only to leaders in the General Assembly. They are permitted to demand access to any public office, to see any documents, and to compel public employees and contractors cooperate, even if it means they don't have legal counsel to advise them. And these folks answer to the Speaker of the House and the Senate leader in the General Assembly. And we should all be concerned, regardless of our party, regardless of where we live, regardless of what we believe, that the legislature is making it harder to hold them accountable while also reducing transparency into their own work. Can I get an amen on that? Last piece I want to tell you about before I turn it over to our friends at Action for Equity. There is also 2 major pieces of legislation that will affect the environment of North Carolina. The first is known as the North Carolina Farm Act. There's a lot in this bill. I'm just going to point out the fact that one piece of this bill removes protections from about 2.5 million acres of wetlands in North Carolina, and a move that a lot of environmental advocates fear will worsen water quality in a state that's already dealing with forever chemicals in its drinking water. And at the same time, through another massive bill called the Regulatory Reform Act, lawmakers have expedited the proposal of a new oil pipeline slated to go through Rockingham and Alamance counties. So you can see very quickly, Reverend Ford, why they don't invite me to parties, because this is all I talk about all the time, and clearly I do not lift up the room, but we have got some amazing folks who are here, who are also working on some issues like public education. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Paul Robeson Ford with Action for Equity to tell you a little bit about their state and local work.
Good evening, everybody. I want to acknowledge our President and CEO, Kelly P. Easton, is here. If you wave your hand. And a lot of our A-Food team. If you're here with A-Food, wave your hand. If you're here with A-Food. All right. Thank you so much. I want to talk to you very quickly in terms of the education agenda that we are focused on here locally, but also in partnership with folks around the state about the work that Action for Equity is doing, and my brother's keeper, Winston-Salem, which we have the opportunity to serve as the backbone for. And it comes down to 3 major themes: advocacy, collaboration, and impact. Let's go to the next slide, Gino. All right, thank you. All right. There's a set of issues, and some of these are getting cut off, so you may have to scroll up, Gino, but we believe that there's a pathway to educational equity here in Winston-Salem, in Forsyth County, and frankly, most of this applies to the state as well. How many of you all here have heard of the Leandro case? Wave your hand if you heard of the Leandro case. Okay. The Leandro case is very important. This is a 30-year-old court case that was argued on the basis that every student in North Carolina has a state constitutional right to a sound basic education, and that was not being fulfilled in North Carolina, in large part because the funding resources from the state legislature were not being allocated. Now, there was a lot of back and forth that went on in the courts. Over a year and a half ago, a predominantly Democratic state Supreme Court ruled in favor of the plaintiffs of Leandro, saying, yes, this case is correct. Every child does have a right to a sound basic education in North Carolina. The state Supreme Court does have the jurisdiction, ordered the state legislature to fully fund Leandro, which by some estimates would be to the tune of $600 or $700 million to be spread around the school districts in the state of North Carolina. Now we know, to the point of the consequences of elections that Brother Gino just mentioned earlier, that the state Supreme Court, including that race he mentioned that was decided by 400 votes, flipped from Democrat to Republican in the last election cycle. And we just got word yesterday that that state Supreme Court, at the behest of the legislature, is going to rehear the Leandro case. Because that state legislature has never wanted to fully fund Leandro, has not wanted to cede that authority to any other governmental body in the state. And so we've got to defend the ruling in Leandro, and we've got to fully fund our schools. This would bring millions and millions of dollars into the Forsyth County schools, and we desperately need that, especially in light of this second point here. We are firmly of the belief that the Code of Conduct, Character, and Support, how many of y'all have heard of that? School district adopted the Code of Conduct, Character, and Support over a year ago. It sets high aspirational goals in terms of its investment in restorative practices, social and emotional learning, interventions that aim to reduce exclusionary discipline. Because too many children are being suspended for 5 days, 10 days, even longer than that in some periods, being sent into ISS for months at a time in some of the worst case scenarios. And what we know, as a matter of statistics, is that black children and brown children are disproportionately suffering this exclusionary discipline. We believe that the full implementation of this code of conduct, in addition to some expansions that we need to do there, will reduce exclusionary discipline by keeping kids in class more, close the achievement gap that we're constantly hearing about, and make our schools safe. You cannot make our schools safe by just arresting kids all the time, or suspending them for 5 or 10 days, or expelling them. That's not what makes our kids safe. What makes our kids safe is the interventions that are there. We need to end suspensions for children in K through the 3rd grade. That is still something that can happen to young elementary school children in this district. That policy has been ended in New Hanover County. It's been ended in other counties. It needs to end here. Pre-K needs to be a priority. Our community, yes. Our community-based research has demonstrated clearly the need for universal preschool education that is fully accessible to all sectors of our community in this county. We have a pilot that is going on right now thanks to county funding, but that is going to need to continue. And we have not forgotten about Ashley. We've got the land, we've got money for an architectural design, we still don't have the money for a new Ashley school. We need the money to build a new Ashley school so that these children can have the benefit that comes with the new school the same way so many children on the other side of town have. Next slide, I'm going to do How we do it? Collective impact. We need elected officials in the community to work together. Work together. Work together. For too long, Winston-Salem has been plagued by people working in silos, either because they don't like somebody else who's doing the same work they are, or because they're too busy doing the work they're doing to realize that somebody else is doing it and they ought to work together to make sure we move the needle on the issues that matter to us. We got to keep on saying no to legislation that resists progress. It's not just about that bad budget. It's about HB 187. It's also about HB 188 that is an attempt to repeal some of the very things that support social and emotional learning. And it's about securing the resources that we know we need to do what we need to do. So this is what we are focused on here. Last slide there. MBK Winston-Salem, you're going to be hearing a lot more about it. It's a collective impact network that is based on the whole notion coming out of the Obama Foundation and the National MBK Alliance that we can do more together than we can apart. We have folks from the school district, the city of Winston-Salem, Crosby Scholars, numerous other community partners who are around the table working together on the goal of reducing exclusionary discipline and improving outcomes for our young people. You're going to be hearing a lot more about it. We ask your support for this.
Thank you, Action for Equity. Thank you, Reverend Ford. Before we start to turn it over to hear from y'all tonight, I want to invite up our friends from North Carolina Black Alliance to talk a little bit about health in North Carolina and the issues they're working on. And then we are going to turn it over to you. So come on up, Karina. Give her a big old round of applause.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? So my name is Karita Giddings. I am the Access to Healthcare Program Coordinator with the North Carolina Black Alliance. We are a statewide organization focusing on systemic level policy change to enhance Black and brown communities. So in North Carolina, we continue to see that Black and brown communities are disproportionately impacted by the disparities in access to healthcare. And the burden of these policies related to healthcare access and reproductive justice are not distributed equally because of something called the social determinants of health. And so the lack of funding that we've seen in our state for healthcare and the absence of Medicaid expansion in our state has deepened the racial disparities and health outcomes and social inequities. Further, these disparities in economic opportunities, like accessing affordable health care, they're very challenging for some, and they find themselves making difficult decisions between their health and financial obligations, which nobody else should have to do. A lack of affordable housing paired with disparities in economic opportunities that we continue to see throughout our state makes the thought of not being able to access time-sensitive health care like abortion care very concerning. And so earlier this year, we saw, as you mentioned, the General Assembly passed Senate Bill 20, called the Care for Women and Children and Families Act, and it was controversial because of the how it infringed on reproductive freedom. And so it creates insurmountable barriers to accessing abortion care, and we know that this will fall disproportionately on Black and brown communities. And so when you think about this in the framework of access, North Carolina's been experiencing hospital closures. There are 20 counties without a hospital, 17 that are at risk of closing. And so instead of our legislators focusing on real issues like access to healthcare, making access equitable, and addressing our growing rate of infant and maternal mortality, they decided to betray our constituents and knowingly putting them in danger with the restricted access to abortion. And so in closing, we've seen that the impact of good policies, when we look to other states that have expanded Medicaid, that have mobilized to protect bodily autonomy, they've been able to reduce the coverage gap, improve maternal and infant health outcomes, and protect bodily autonomy. And so when we think about the road ahead for our upcoming elections, we have to remember that each of these elections matters to the health of our communities. Everyone deserves access to the care they need when they need it and without financial hardship. So now is the time for our legislators to prioritize the policies that make all healthcare, inclusive and accessible for Black and brown communities. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. How many of y'all heard about something tonight that you got an opinion about? Raise your hand. Sorry, how many of y'all how many of y'all heard something tonight that you've got an opinion about? Raise your hand. All right. That's the portion of the event that we are now about to start. So a couple of ground rules. We have given you a lot of information about what happened in the General Assembly. You'll receive these slides and there's many other educational materials for you, but we believe that it's important for our lawmakers here and our lawmakers who aren't here to hear what you have to say about these issues. I will say from the jump that we are very fortunate to have a couple of our state lawmakers here, a couple of our local officials. We did reach out to Representative Kyle Hall, Representative Jeff Zenger, who did not respond to our invitation to be here tonight. So in that vein, we are also recording this conversation tonight to share with those lawmakers who could not be here. Similar with Senator Craywick, who declined due to conflict. We did receive a message from one of the state representatives here in Forsyth County, Representative Donnie Lambeth, who could not be here tonight but wanted to share about his major focus, which was Medicaid expansion in this legislative session. And his was the only response we received from lawmakers who otherwise did not respond to us to join us tonight. So I want to set the tone there so that you know what we're about to get into. We have a number of you who signed up to speak as you came in. Each person's going to receive 2 minutes to speak. Tyler Day, will you stand up and... this is Tyler Day. Tyler Day, smile to the crowd and wave. Tyler Day is going to be the person you look to who will give you the 2-minute warnings, all right? We ask that each person take about 2 minutes so that we get a chance for as many people to speak as possible. The only other rule that we have is that we ask folks to remain nonpartisan to the extent possible because we are focused on issues and experiences, not stumping for one party or the other. And that we maintain respect here and how we treat each other and the comments, because each person has comments that need to be made and need to be heard. Everybody sound good right there? Okay. All right. So I've got a list here. And when I start to call these people up, I hope y'all will give a round of applause because it is hard to be the first person to speak. So the first person I've got signed up to speak tonight is William Herrera. William, are you here? William, are you here? Okay. I think I don't see William. Maybe William already left. Then I'm going to call up Michael James to come be our first speaker here tonight. Oh, you still want to speak, Ms. James? All right. Now, don't be shy now. This event is all just for y'all. So, all right. Then I'm going to go to the next person on the list, Mustafa Shabazz. Are you here, my friend? Mustafa. Can folks hear me? Are you Mr. Shabazz? Come on up. Give him a round of applause. And folks, we'll each get 2 minutes, and the floor is yours. Make sure you introduce yourself to us as well. Oh, turn it off. Oh, just in case so folks can hear you in the back. If that's okay.
No, I understand. Like,
Okay.
what am I heard today?
You sharing your opinion about the issue, sir, and what you care about, and what you want your lawmakers to know.
Okay.
But I would encourage you to use the mic so I think folks in the back will be able to hear you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mustafa Shabazz. I represent ACGG, which is American Coalition for Good Government. We, too, are a nonpartisan organization that got together to discuss issues that were relative to our cities, our states, and our country, because we have members all over the country. So we organized because there was no one that was really speaking to issues that really concerned a lot of the marginalized communities. So we really needed to organize so that we could get our voices heard. So if you don't get your voice heard as it relates to issues that impact you or affect you, then it's our own fault if we don't make our voices heard. So this is what ACGG is about. We actually have a conference call coming up on Sunday. And as I indicated previously, we have members from all over the country. So we emphasize getting organized, strategizing to impact those voting decisions, those people who run our government. We strategize so that we can impact that in a way that is helpful for all of the citizens of our country. So thank you again. My name is Mustafa Shabazz with American Coalition for Good Government.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. And I realize some of you may have signed up to speak who didn't actually want to speak, so feel free to say no. But if you are interested in speaking, this is your time. We've got a number of people who still did sign up. And if you are not sure what you want to say, consider two different questions. The first is the question that you see up here. What do you want for the future of North Carolina? We talk about a lot of things that we may not feel are right about our president. So what is it the future that we want? And secondly, the other one is very simple. You've got state lawmakers in attendance, you've got state lawmakers who will hear this recording tonight. What do you want them to know about what you care about? So with that, I'm gonna go, hopefully the person who does want to speak, John Marshall? John Marshall, I'm so sorry if I get your name wrong. But no, sir? All right. If you change your mind, I'm happy to come back. All right, with that, Cherie Fowler. Cherie, are you here? Yeah. Don't be shy.
Hi. I know the future of North Carolina doesn't look like what's been put in front of us. And we all deserve better. And our neighbors deserve better. And quite honestly, I have a group of students in this room here with me tonight. And they surely deserve better, y'all. We gotta do the work. We gotta do the work. That's really what I need to say. Like, it feels really overwhelming right now. It is heartbreaking. And this is not the state. It is not the place that I've known it to be, where we could be in disagreement, but we could come together and do hard things. Places it's like we can't even hear each other anymore. And the thing I need to say is like, we have to believe we deserve better. We have to believe we deserve better. So let's do the work. And let's talk to each other. Let's please talk to each other.
Thank you very much. That is exactly right. And I appreciate you saying that. Folks, we're going to keep it rolling and talking about the issues that are on y'all's mind and the things you want us to know about your experience. Next, I've got signed to speak Ash McKenzie. Ash, are you here? Don't be shy. Come on up. That's right. Give him a round of applause. Ash, we are excited to hear what you have to say. Oh, we got 3 people coming. Okay. We got a little trio. Come on up here. Tell us what's on your mind.
Hi, we're Cherie's students. We go to Salem College. We're all working on a project about non-binary and trans advocacy in healthcare in North Carolina. And as a trans person, I am pretty deeply scared looking into like gender affirming care and not being able to find anything. And I was asked to play tennis at school and had to tell them that legally I cannot because of the bill that was passed. So it's kind of scary to watch my life be slimmed down to like this one thing that I can do and watch everything else that I enjoy doing be taken away from me just because of who I am. So actually being able to do things I enjoy would be pretty nice.
The next person I have signed up to speak is Rhonda Mays. All right, come on. Taylor, watch out. She's coming right behind you. Taylor. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
What I am concerned about in North Carolina is the fact that we continue to look to other institutions and to do the things that we need to do as a community. We have to get back to the basics. But we can't get back to the basics when families aren't able to do the things they need to do for their children in their own home because they don't have appropriate housing, quality housing. They're not making a living wage. You don't have the things that you need in your home so you can stand up and be the leader in your home so your children can be proud of you, so you can be able to provide the things that they need. I'm not talking about their wants. I'm talking about what they need. Often, our children are coming to school and they don't have the basics that they need. And it's not any fault of their own. We have to make certain that people are able to have affordable housing, quality, that they're able to work a job, that they can take care of their family, and therefore we can then come back together and be able to really focus and work on things together. But when the basics aren't being met, how can we expect the children to excel in school? That's what I needed to say tonight. Thank you.
There was a lot of support for what you said in the crowd, Ms. Rhonda. Thank you very much, and I know we need to hear it. Amy Taylor North wants to speak next. Yeah, come on up. We're giving y'all an exercise tonight. You get to run back and forth. Come on up next.
Okay. I'm going to share a story. I grew up in Texas, but I've been here 23 years. I volunteered in my church, my neighborhood, my kids' school. The night before the election, presidential election, when Hillary won the popular vote, but wasn't put into office, I laid on the floor and cried like a real big baby because I had told my two boys, who are now 15 and 21, that we were going to wake up to our first woman president. And that didn't happen, so I decided to roll up my sleeves and volunteer. I was never going to be part of the military, but I was going to do my American service. I volunteered for a year and a half running a congressional campaign for a city councilwoman who was on the city council of Winston-Salem. Got to know a lot about North Carolina in that time, a lot, and a lot of it was very frightening. I come with a message of hope, but I'm really upset. I have fewer rights now as a woman than I had when I started investing thousands of hours to try to make things better. And if people think I'm going to leave this planet worse off for my kids than when I got here, they got another thing coming. So I know they're not supposed to be stunting. But Jeff Singer isn't here tonight, and I am, and I'm running for North Carolina House. Amy Taylor North for North Carolina District 74.
Let's find the exclamation point to hand it on. Folks, we are going to keep running right through so that we give as many people a chance to speak before we listen to our elected officials who are here tonight. So I'm so sorry if I get this name wrong, but Hope El-Miligi? Hope El-Miligi. Did I say that right? Please say it. Please say it right when you come back up.
The faith one, you're not going to call her either, but I will.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was going to go to her next.
Oh.
Yeah. But come on out and tell us who you are.
I did wrong. Yeah, I didn't really plan on talking tonight. face work done, so I can't even talk right. But I wanted to get up here, and when I found out I was going to be on here for talking, and say what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that my children are held to higher standards than our politically elected officials. I think it's time to restructure and make it so that I can understand the issues that are coming up, and that we don't have all the hidden agendas that make it so difficult for us to know who we want to vote for. All the little hidden things in the bills, all the hidden agendas of our political officials and their conduct. And I want to see that change. And I think we're going to have that change before we can get everything else changed. And I'm sorry, I know you can't even hear me really because of my mouth, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Valerie Cope. Oh, sorry, my bad. Alrighty, my friends. Let me make sure I get to the next person. Paige Milligan. Was Paige one of the students who came up already? Okay, Paige did not like to speak? Okay, no worries at all. Okay, next person I have is Evan Shepard. Come on up, sir.
Hi, how's everybody doing tonight? First of all, it's just great to be in a room with so many people who are engaged and deeply care about politics and the improvement of North Carolina. Since about 2019, I have been organizing for reparations for slavery. So both sides of my family, my mom and dad's side, were enslaved in North Carolina. So I have probably dozens that I know of, probably a lot more, who were deeply involved in the shaping and the economic development of this state, especially in this country. So some quick facts: the racial wealth gap between black and white in the country is currently at 10-1. Black wealth is headed to 0 by 2050. By 2050. Those were the numbers pre-COVID. So I believe it's actually much sooner now. It could be now, it could be 2030, but that day is upon us very soon. So when I think about what is my vision for what North Carolina looks like in the future, I want to see a day when my people do not have to be hawking down every budget trying to get our little bit of affordable housing in, which that's important, and I'm so glad that we can do that, or us just trying to badger the state legislature for our little bit of school funding that we should have gotten a long time ago and more, right? So, why do other communities not have to deal with this? They have the wealth in their communities to just fund their own schools with their own tax dollars, and, so I'm looking at, the big picture solutions. How do we close the racial wealth gap? How do we, these gaps in health and education and things like that, those are never going to go away permanently unless we solve the big problem, which has gone back for 400 years in this country, which is closing the wealth gap caused by slavery, Jim Crow, leaving us out of, the New Deal and the GI Bill and things like that. So I just want to put that in everybody's mind. These global issues are extremely important, but we also need to add that reparations piece to the big picture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evan. Friends, we are cooking with gas now. We are getting to our final set of speakers before we turn it over to our elected officials in attendance. So I've got Lori Farrington signed up next. If Lori would like to come up and speak, and then we'll have time for about one more speaker. So if that is you, feel free to raise your hand, and we will come to you after Lori. I see you in the back. We'll go to you, sir. We'll give you the final word. Welcome up, Lori.
Hi, I'm Lori Farrington. I'm a 48-year-old mother, but more importantly, the future of North Carolina looks like my classes. I teach 12 classes in a 48-hour span, which includes, of course, approximately 300 students. And that's what the future of North Carolina looks like. It looks like kids that are 11, kids that are 15, kids that are in 6th grade, kids that are in 7th grade, kids that are learning virtually, kids that are learning in person. kids that need physical assistance, kids that need hearing assistance, kids that need sign language interpretation, kids that need English interpretation, kids that are trying to learn social skills in a Spanish class, kids that are trying to get a hug because they don't get it at home, kids that are trying to ask me for snacks every day, kids that want to go to the bathroom to wash their hands and their face and their armpits when they first get to school because they don't have that at home. That's what I know the future of North Carolina looks like. And so it's important to me that elected officials understand that the decisions that they make don't just impact those of us with gray hair. They don't just impact those of us who are allowed to get on email and write them or call them or bother them when they're out in public. It impacts that 11-year-old, that 15-year-old, and my own 3 daughters. And so these choices about healthcare, these choices about public education, these choices about housing, it might not bother me at my age, but I also have to look into those faces of hope, those faces of dreams, those faces of wishes that will potentially be the same people who are sitting in the seats that we are sitting in tonight, and those people will be able to make decisions for me when I'm older and may not be able to myself. So, thank you for listening.
I don't even think I need to be here. I think y'all could just take the rest of the event and we would be good. We'll keep you here all night. Sir, you'll be our last speaker here tonight. And then if you are an elected official, city, county, state, get ready. We'll ask you to come up and share a few words in response to what you've heard tonight. So just giving you all a little warning before we go to that. Come on through.
My name is Mac Wilder, and I'm running for House District 74 against Jeff Zanger. I have a lot of issues. I'm a left-wing Democrat. But one of those issues that are near and dear to me because of my history was the expansion of Medicaid, but I want to go further than the expansion of Medicaid. I don't want to stop at an additional 600,000 people being insured. I won't be happy until everyone has adequate access to quality health care. When I was 50, I had a heart attack. I had been laid off from my job. I worked there for 10 years, had insurance the whole time. It was a company issue. They laid off lots of people when they laid me off. But I found myself having a heart attack. 3 days later, I'm $38,000 in debt. Yeah, and I was on Berlanta. It keeps your white blood cells from sticking to your skin. I know $38,000 isn't as bad as maybe somebody else with something a little more serious, but healthcare, I canvassed for Bernie 2 successive campaigns. Universal healthcare might be taboo, but that's where I want to go.
Yeah, come on in, sir. We'll give you one last. You'll be our last speaker. Sorry, I faked y'all out. You'll be our last speaker, and then we'll go to our elected officials.
Good evening. I'm Al Waidu Jabbar. I'm the president of the NAACP here in Forsyth County. We often hear this buzzword, we are better together than we are apart. But we have allowed lawmakers to dictate how we live and how we play. What creates things like that? You can be white making $20,000 a year, you can be black making $20,000, you're in the same boat. Riley has deceived people to the point that they have created a racial divide in our state. We must overcome that. Then we will be better together than we are apart. Thank you.
That is exactly right. When we say unite and see, I know it sounds a little corny, but we mean it that there is more that unites us. Each of us have either experienced or know someone who has suffered a catastrophic health situation. Is that right? Each of us know and love someone who has gone to seek reproductive health care and abortion, and maybe doesn't have that access now. We all love someone who's gone through schools, who's had to deal with inequality in our schools, and we all know people who have had to suffer environmental injustices because of the apathy, the neglect of the people who purport to represent us. So I just want to underscore that because I'm appreciative of each of you sharing your stories, because this is real, this is life and death for many of us. This is about whether we feel safe in North Carolina, and if I hear one thing tonight, and I've heard it on every single town hall we've done before this, 24 of them before tonight, all North Carolinians are suffering and thinking of the same issues that y'all are. So I appreciate you taking your time. I now want to invite up our state lawmakers, our county officials, our school board members, and our city council members. We want to give each of them a few minutes just to respond to what they've heard from you tonight and to share just a little bit more about their work and what has been on their agenda in their respective office. So with that, could I ask my city council members, my county commissioners, my state lawmakers to come up to the front, please. We'll put you in a nice little line. It'll make for a great photo op. Come on up, come on up. We'll start with our state lawmakers first, and then we'll make our all the way down. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. This is a great little bunch right here. It's good to see you. Welcome up, welcome up. Senator Lowe, Representative Baker, which one of y'all want to go first? Senator Lowe's going to go first. All right. Come on up. I want y'all to give a round of applause to Senator Paul Lowe.
Good to be here, thanking all of those persons that put this on. Good to see Representative Brown coming in. One of the things that I've heard, I've listened to all of the things that you all have shared, and I wrote many of them down. But I can tell you right now that I sit on the back row of the Senate, where I've been sitting for the last 8 years. And until we are in the majority, we barely got Medicaid expansion done. And the only reason we got it done is because the hospitals in the rural areas have to be funded, and that's the only way we can fund them. That's the only reason we got it. That's the only reason Medicaid expansion passed. Whatever you think it is in Raleigh, it's worse than that. If you want something to happen with fair districts, I guarantee you, if we don't get back the judges, it ain't gonna happen. You can meet, you can have town halls, you can talk amongst yourselves. You don't get back the judges, we're not gonna have a chance, because we are in a super minority. We can get up and talk about all kinds of stuff, and sometimes we'll get up on the floor and talk, and you might get a soundbite and think I'm really doing something. I'm doing nothing. Because I can't get stuff passed. I was sent questions about Leandro and getting more money for education. It ain't happening until we get in the majority. So when you have meetings like this, please, ma'am, please, sir, figure out how and take more time to figure out how you're going to get people to the polls to vote. And when they vote, they got to have an ID. Help them get an ID so when they come to the polls, they'll come with an ID and be able to vote. It's the only way you're going to get out of this, through voting. You can meet forever. Now, I heard something said, I'm sorry, I am partisan. I am a Democrat. I don't apologize for that. We have to change the supermajority. And unless we change the supermajority, me, Amber Baker, Kanika Brown can write bills all day. They will go nowhere. Thank you for this time. May God bless you.
Thank you, Senator Lowe. Pleasure now to invite Representative Amber Baker.
So I like to tell people I'm an educator who moonlights as a politician. You'll catch that in a minute. Senator Lowe said it all. I am in my second term. I'm getting ready to file for my third term. And this is what I want to say about everything that I heard today. It is not good right now in Raleigh, but that doesn't mean that we're not fighting. That doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to fight. That doesn't mean that we're not going to get behind candidates that are looking to unseat incumbents who are not for the people, of the people, or by the people. And so understand this, that every week we go, and we are now in day 134, I think, yesterday. We were supposed to be finished in June. We should have had a budget in June. That means that our teachers, our state employees, our retirees have not gone with the minuscule raise they got. So yes, it's back pay, but we want you to get your own time pay. I will say again, I don't play nice. I don't play fair. I don't play across the aisle, because what the people of District 72 sent me to Raleigh to do was to fight. And that's what I will continue to do. Now let me say this, we're not perfect. And for as many people in this room there are, that's as many viewpoints as we have. So anytime that there is more than one person in the room with me, you're gonna have a differing opinion. And I can't speak for my colleagues, but I will say this. I try to vote the best way I can, based on the information I have, and I try to do right by the people who sent me there. That means that somebody, somewhere, is always going to be upset with me, because you can't please all of the people all of the time. But what I will say is, you watch what we do. You watch what we say. You watch how we move. And then you make your decision on whether or not you want to send us back for another term, or whether you want new leadership. I welcome that, because that's the only way that I'm going to get better, by knowing that the people who sent me there are holding me accountable to do the things that I said I was going to do when I went, which is to fight for the people. Again, thank you for coming out, allowing me to come out this evening, and I am turning it over.
Thank you, Representative. Unfortunately, it gets a little bit after 6:30, so we're going to just keep you a little bit after 8. Promise you we've got some more good folks for you to hear from. If you do have to leave, please do. But up next, Representative Brown.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing today? You're alive, so you should be louder than that. Somebody didn't wake up today. You're a little dry. Well, I'm State Representative Kanika Brown, and I'm not going to echo of what my colleagues have already said. You've already heard that. I'm going to tell you what we do a little bit in the state, so you all know, okay, this is what's going on. We have 45 Democrats in the House, 77 Republicans in the House. So we have no vote, we have no power. Once we decide on those bills, the other side, the majority, they get it. Automatically. Our governor has no power, he has no veto. You all know this. This is why we have to get to the polls. We have to get our college students enrolled. I was talking to the college students about 2 weeks ago. They came to visit me. They stated that we can't vote here. They told us we have to vote in our state, go back home. This is why the numbers are low on our college campuses.
This is something that we have to change. We have to change this. I was in a meeting 2 weeks ago. Might have been 3 weeks ago. I was in another meeting. And the lady stated, Representative Brown, you know, they are talking about changing the age from 18 to 21 to vote. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. They are working on a plan now. We have to get people back out there to vote. Data have shown us that we have people that are registered to vote. They're just not voting. They're not voting. We have the numbers. We can see that they're alive. They are well. They're not voting. We have to find out why they're not voting, knocking on their doors, bringing them out to meet and greets, finding out what the issues are, what can we do to help. Because if we're not doing our job, we're going to continue to see the same results over and over and over. Nothing's going to change. Say nothing, change nothing. That's just the bottom line. And like Senator Lowe said, we write policy, pass bills all day long. It's not going anywhere. You put your name on the bill with somebody and wrong that they don't like, it'll stay in rules. I guarantee you that. It's not going anywhere. That bill is not going to pass. So we have to be mindful of that as well, who we sign on bills with. So a lot of things you all think you know, you don't know until you've been in Raleigh. What goes on behind the scenes, you couldn't even imagine. And while you all, some of y'all all sleeping 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, Rep. Baker, Rep. I, Senator Lowe, we're up passing bills, writing bills. So just be mindful that we are working for you. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, unaffiliated. Your tax dollars pay our salaries. We work for you. We want to hear from you. Don't be afraid to say, I don't want to call, I don't want to bother them. You should call us and bother us. That is your job. We work for you. We work for you. When certain bills come up, send us an email, come and see us. Where's Miss Lavina and Angela? At my door, her and her crew. Representative Brown, we got to talk about this bill. Let's get this bill done. Where her crew are they come? Yeah, they're there. And I ask you all to do the same thing. And also, if you all have issues you want to talk about, you want to say, Rep. Brown, Rep. Baker, Senator Lowe, how do we get before a committee? We can make that happen. You can come forward before the Education Committee, the ABC Committee. Hey, I want to see this change. What do we need to do to make this happen? You can do that. You have that voice. You have that power. Don't let them take our democracy away. Again, Representative Kanika Brown, thank you.
City Councilor, come on next. Oh, yes.
If you want to know what the seat difference is from the seats for the majority, the override majority is 1 seat in the House and 2 seats in the Senate. 2 seats in the Senate, 1 seat in the House keeps us from upholding the governor's veto. 1 seat in the House, 2 seats in the Senate. And to the salary, just in case, we make less than $14,000 a year. $13,669. I just want to tell y'all. So when she said y'all pay our salary, you do. You do. $13,669.
Thank you, Representative. First, I'd like Mrs. Brown to give you all a chance to speak today.
Greetings and happy Thursday. We are standing on behalf of the Forsyth County Commissioners. My name is Commissioner Tanya McDaniel. I represent District A, and I'll have my colleagues speak right after me. I just want to stand to say thank you for all of the affiliates putting on this event this afternoon. We sincerely appreciate you. Standing as a minority, in the minority on the County Commissioners Board, I resonate many of the comments that have already been made today. So what I will leave you with is that President Jabbar has already said it, that we are better together, but we are stronger together when we're better, right? Right. Okay, so I'll pass the mic.
Thank you, Commissioner McDaniel. My name is Dan Bessie. I'm the at-large representative on the Forsyth County Commission. We have 7 members, 6 are elected from districts, including Commissioner McDaniel and Commissioner Woodbury from District A, 4 from the other district, and I'm the only one currently elected countywide. A couple of things that I would say in overall response, because the details will take more time than we have, but when you have a level of government that is functioning, and the county commission, I think, qualifies for that, even though the Democrats are presently in the minority. It's a close minority, and it's not a particularly partisan body. So when you have a functioning instrument of government, you need to make it work for the people that you're there to serve. And we are working to make it more responsive to the parts of our community that need equity in education, equity in healthcare, equity in environmental equality, equity in opportunity. And I'm a detail wonk, so I want to cite some examples. And these are things that we both supported, as did our colleague, Commissioner Woodbury. We worked to increase the local K-12 school system budget successfully. The total budget this year was $169 million, and that is $7.2 million up from just last year alone. And in addition, we approved a special $1 million fund as an challenging opportunity to our school board come to us with a plan to close the gap on what are called classified, non-education certified staff. And this is everybody from the school custodian and the teaching assistants in the classrooms to the bus drivers. We noticed in particular there is a crisis in bus drivers. People told us that last year. There aren't enough, and as a result, the kids are not getting to school on time, they're not getting home on time, and that sets up a cascade of effects. So that $1 million fund is supposed to help close the gap to improve our ability to hire and retain in positions like bus drivers. We also have worked to, 1 minute left, we have worked to help close the health care coverage gap. The one good thing that the legislature did this year was expand Medicaid. That is going to bring in 45,000 residents of Forsyth to the opportunity for reliable, high-quality health care. These are mostly working adults and their families. So these are folks that were making too much to qualify for Medicaid in the old rules, but not enough to qualify for the generous subsidies available under the Affordable Care Act on the private market. You know, the very people who are working their buns off, sometimes at 2 and 3 jobs, and still couldn't get health care, that was wrong. Well, finally the legislature fixed that. The county commissioners have already approved 33 additional staff members to help ensure that the people who are now eligible for that care know about it and that their applications are processed in a timely manner. And the last thing I'll say is about the issue that everybody has talked about, and that is the right to vote, the ability for us to collectively express our will about what government should be doing and who should represent you there. I believe that I could speak for probably every one of the commissioners when I say that if the elections board and the election staff come to us with any kind of reasonable request for funding outreach, for funding early voting sites, that we will respond with a yes, and we need to do it. So thank you very much.
I'll leave this as a shameless plug. Many of you probably already know that the county is getting ready to have our county manager retire. So we will be looking for a new county manager. And I've always been the We the People representative for District A. So what I will tell you to do is please watch out for our listening sessions. We make the decisions on who our new county manager will be, but I need to hear from the community as well. In addition to that, I also wanted to say that And all that we do with the work that we do with the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School Boards, we also work really, really hard with our sheriff's departments as well to make sure that they're supported. So thank you so very much for allowing me to share that.
Thank you, Commissioners. Friends, I promise we are almost done. If you're getting antsy, we are almost there. School Board Member Sabrina Kuhn up next. Then we'll close out. We will be done by 8:15, I promise you. So go on ahead.
I'll be quick, because I know oftentimes you guys don't want to hear from me. However, I am Sabrina Kuhn. I am one of your board members. I am a newbie on the board this year. So a lot of what I have been doing is learning and getting into the trenches to see what's going on. I will say, when we talk about Leandro, it makes me want to jump up and down and say, why? Just give us the money. Because as a school board, we cannot raise our own funds. We have to rely on the county commissioners and the state and the federal government to give us money so that we can provide sound basic education for our children. We are thankful for our partnership with our county commissioners. We're thankful for what you did for us this year. Thank you very much. And we are working very hard and hope to be able to talk about it soon, what we are doing to help those that are in the trenches in our classified positions that include our bus drivers and some of our other positions. So hopefully that will be coming soon, but we are using that money wisely, and we've used some other money really wisely. And I just want to say that when I listen to students talk about how they feel, one of the reasons why I ran is because every student matters. Every student matters, every student has a voice, and they should all be able to walk into a building to feel heard and seen and get an education that they deserve. And sometimes that means we have to be uncomfortable, and sometimes that means that things make us get a little squirmy in our chair, but that doesn't mean it's wrong, and that doesn't mean that we have to run away from it. That just means that we have to be able to be uncomfortable sometimes so that we can learn to embrace one another and be okay, so that we can be better together. So thank you guys, I appreciate you all.
Thank you very much. And our last elected official from the Winston-Salem City Council, you get the mic all to yourself, sir.
I get the last word, it looks like. I know everybody's ready to go because it's been a long night. And I want to thank everybody for turning out. You are not the problem in the state of North Carolina. The problem is we have hundreds of thousands of people who don't come out and don't care about elections enough to actually show up to the polls and vote. We have a big task in front of us. You saw it earlier when we saw what the legislature is doing to us almost on a daily basis, and in spite of a governor who cares about us, we've been unable to foil the effort because we just don't have the votes in the legislature anymore. So I'm encouraging you all. Winston-Salem is, of course, a city that operates under eight different wards. I just represent one ward. Most of the time spent worrying about leaf pickup, garbage pickup, dead dogs in the street, whatever. But I can tell you that we are all concerned about the microcosm of what we've heard tonight: housing, jobs, health, public health, environmental issues, equity and employment opportunity, and transference of wealth. All these issues are in the minds of each city council member. I can guarantee you that we do think about those on a regular basis. So I thank you for your stay and hope you'll remain involved and use the opportunity tonight to be in contact with your council members. We do more than potholes and street pavings. Issues that are important to you, even if they're oftentimes controlled by the state. And the state controls so much of what the cities are able to do. But if you will let us know, at least we go in front of the legislators with some regularity. And even if they are in a minority currently, we still ask and we demand things of them. So let your voice be heard, that's all I can say. Thank you for showing up tonight.
Thank you very much to our elected officials. Now y'all have heard about the issues, and see, you're halfway on that clap, I love it. We're going to invite our friends up from the Forsyth County Board of Elections to tell you exactly about how you can vote in these municipal elections and elections coming up next year. So come on through.
Hi, I'm Carmen Buchanan, I'm the voter ID specialist for the Board of Elections. It's a newly
formed a role. But I would like to say that Common Cause did a very good job with this booklet. Everything's in here that you need to know. And we also want to let you know that you can come to the Board of Elections any day and get a free voter ID. You just have to be a registered Forsyth County voter. And if you're not registered, we'll register you and you can still get your ID.
We're also doing information sessions at different libraries, and we're at Fun Fest this weekend, the County Fun Fest, where we bring our mobile ID printer out. So we're trying to go out to the community and make the IDs available for members of the public that do not have an ID. This is what an ID looks like for the voter ID. Most people have driver's licenses or student IDs that will be valid for voting. Just mentioned the municipal election. Right now we're doing early voting for that. It's not Winston-Salem in the unincorporated areas, it's the other municipalities within Forsyth County. But come February, the early voting begins for the upcoming March 5th primary, and then the November 5th general election next year. And you will need a voter ID for that. Or I mean a photo ID, not necessarily a voter ID, a photo ID. Is that? And if you have any questions, come ask us or call the office.
A big thank you to our county board of elections. All right, folks. I believe there is one word that Senator Lowe wanted to add to his remarks, so I'll invite Senator Lowe to come back here. But I just want to say thank you again for being with us here tonight. Of course, the ballot box, the vote, is important to what we do, but being here tonight is important to what we do. How many of y'all heard something or learned something tonight that you did not know before you came here? And raise your hand if y'all heard of an organization or work being done that you want to be a part of. Lots of hands. Because it's this effort, this dialogue with our elected officials, this conversation with our elected officials, and these chances to organize for a better North Carolina is why we do this, year-round in addition to the ballot box. So, I'm going to give it to Senator Lowe, but I wanted to just say really quick before you go tonight, you had a bunch of cards on your table. They ask you more about what you want for the future of North Carolina. They ask you about the issues you care about. If you are interested in filling that out, please drop it in the white magic box of mystery there on the sign-in table as you leave. And with that, I'm going to give it to Senator Lowe for one final word before we say goodnight.
All right, thank you. I was told I was too harsh, so I won't sound so harsh. But I guess I feel that way because I've had bills thrown in my face, and many of them, like one for $28 million for action, that I couldn't get out of rules. Working on Medicaid expansion for 8 years. So I take this very, very seriously. While we're in Raleigh, the best way you can help us and we can work together is for you to spend the time here organizing and figuring out how to get people to the polls. All of you in here, many of you I've known for over 25 or 30 years, have dramatic influence in your communities and in your churches and in your synagogues and in your houses of worship. You're going to have to use that influence because my influence is only that much. I mean, I can say something like this, but all of you are going somewhere when you leave here. You're going to talk to some of your friends. You're going to talk to some people that say, to hell with voting. But the only way we're going to get out of this is to get people to the polls. I knock on as many doors as I can, but I'm just one person. But if everybody tried to touch 5 or 10 people, we make a big difference. And that's what it's going to take if we want to see the changes that you all have spoken about. That's what it's going to take. I'm on record redistricting committee, I watched my district being packed. And then I watched the other district that's going to whitewash black and brown voting. And I couldn't do anything about it, but just push the red button and vote against it. But if we get some right judges in place, we might be able to change this before 2030. We might be able to. But if we don't, it's only going to get worse. If we don't hold on to the governor's mansion, you ain't seeing nothing. So I encourage each and every one of you. I know I'm passionate and I know I'm loud. I'm working hard to talk as quietly as I can. You have no idea. This young lady right here, who I think a lot of, she told me I was too hard. So I came back because I don't want to sound like I'm too hard, but I do take this seriously. It cost me a lot of time and a lot of money and a whole lot of stuff to try to fight to make our state better and our community better, and I'm going to continue to do that. I thank you for your support and your prayers. God bless you.
So, thank you, Senator Lowe. Thank you. And what I shared with Senator Lowe, my name is Kelly Easton with Action for Equity. What I shared with him was that it does not help, especially for me and the people who I represent, who many of them are not in this room right now. Those are the people who we need to vote, to come out and vote. The people who are apathetic, the people who feel as though it doesn't matter what they do, their vote doesn't count. And until we do something differently, until we begin to change our narrative, until we start thinking outside of the box in terms of what is it going to take to motivate the people in our community who are not voting, then we're going to continue to see some of the same results. So we say do it together, like that's a strategy that we have not done a good job. So I just hope that, I know it's overwhelming. I'm overwhelmed by all the negativity. I'm overwhelmed by how dark it's going to get before it gets any better. But again, we have to do something different, and we have to think about the people who are not in the room today, who are not in the room right now. So thank you all for being here this evening.
And get home safe, everybody. Make sure to drop off your cards. Thank you for being here.